Shabbat Shalom and welcome. We are coming to you from our beautiful sanctuary. I am Rabbi Javier Carapan and I'm joined by Leslie Zucker and Joel Christopher back there. And of course, our technical team who's helping us behind the scenes. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, you can find links to the prayer pages and other information on the comment section. If you're watching us on the virtual sanctuary, the links to the PDF are right above the player, and all other links were emailed to you with the e-news that you received this morning. If you haven't, let us know. We'll put you on the list. Thank you to our digital docents who are managing our streaming. If you're watching us on Facebook Live and would like to say hello, we invite you to type Shabbat Shalom and tell us where you're watching from, and then click Enter. So we can all see it. That's also a way for you to learn how to post things during the service. But we ask you that don't post anything about the technical aspects of the service. If you have any technological issues, we have our very special TAL, Technical Assistance Line, which we don't always mention. TAL means do in Hebrew, so we're just playing with the words. And it's 913-303-1134. Please text the number, and one of our docents will get back to you as soon as they can. Again, welcome to our service. We're glad you're here to welcome Shabbat together. On page 120, we'll continue with lighting the Shabbat candles. If you have candles at home and would like to join us, go ahead and light those matches and join us in the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. As we continue together, welcome in Shabbat on page 140. We join in singing words from Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, a psalm, a song for Shabbat. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי עזור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, ומעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדול מעשיך אדוני, לעולם קומת שבותך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, page 138, we continue with Lecha Dodi. We are singing together stanzas 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, all the odd numbered
It
stanzas.
just always seems so appropriate to me.
לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל עמך, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם על תפארת ולתהילה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, תבורך בי אורי, שתברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבעלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמסוס חתן על כלה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. We continue on page 147 in the middle of the page. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost stars. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Oh, let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. Shema Israel, Adonai אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ונברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם
אמת.
אמת. Page 158, we sing together, Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nedar b'kodesh, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. Page, well, actually, it's the next page. We don't have a page. Sorry. Because we're using words from a previous prayer book. These are words set to music by Noah Aronson and cantor Jody Suffren. And the words come from Gates of Prayer. You may remember that light blue book.
Let there be love
And understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkiveinu, Leshalom. Avineinu, Shomreinu Lechaim. Ufos Aleinu, Tzikat Shomecha. Ashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkiveinu, Leshalom. Let there be love, let there be love, and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם. ברית עולם, vayinafa Shabbat, Shabbat vayinafa, Shabbat, Shabbat vayinafa, Shabbat, Shabbat vayinafa. This moment in our service, we take the time to pray the Amidah silently. We invite you to follow the words of our traditional prayers on the prayer book through page 180, to also take this moment to offer private prayer and meditation time with your loved ones wherever you are watching our service and joining us on this Shabbat. We begin together with Adonai's Fatai, and we'll come together at the end as well, after we come out of the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Adshenu b'mitzotecha v'tein chelkeinu b'toratecha. Samecheinu b'shuatecha. Lai, 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 lai. 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 Adonai Eloheinu, ve'amal v'chatzot Shabbat kodecho, ve'anu tava Yisrael, ve'kadshesh shemecha, yai, yai, yai,
And tonight we have a Torah service, so things are a little bit different. So we're now going to do our Simcha moment. So if you are so moved, we like to share a Simcha, a joy from this past week, which may include, of course, your birthday, anniversaries, good news, and accomplishments of all and any kind. We invite you to do that now and type them on the comments and click enter. Just a few words for each one. And I was going to show you, I don't know if anybody's noticed that I'm wearing a shirt
My
here.
goodness, whose number is that?
Whose number is that?
Today is my brother's birthday, and then on the 8th is my dad's. I mean, I know that's technically next week's Simcha, but they're so close
And
together.
we hope that this will be next week's
That's
Simcha.
right.
That's
Yes, it'll be this week's Simcha and next week's Simcha. I believe.
Maybe I should get an 87 for next week. We'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, I have a poem to share with you, a prayer by Ruth Bryn, which talks a little bit about the topic of this week's Torah portion, although the topic is not obvious to everybody, but I hope it will be after you hear what I have to say tonight.
Oh, my.
But it is really apropos of something that appears in this week's Torah portion. Is Parashat Yitro, and it has the Ten Commandments in it, but it also sets up the tone for what's going to happen next. And for the very first time in the Torah, we find the Hebrew word for chosen people, and it is Am Segula.
Am Segula?
I'll explain a little later. So this is her poem called The Chosen People. Why am I different from all others? I cried in my loneliness, and 1,000 children's voices piped, why are we different from all other people? But there are no two stones alike in all the universe of pebbles. No two leaves of any tree are just the same, nor animals, nor birds, nor people. Difference is the mark of the hand of the Creator, and evolution is God's handiwork. Each of us is meant to be ourselves, and each people to be great in its own way. We are different in a universe of differences, swimming in the moving waters of history. We Jews want to be a warm current in an icy river. We want to create a climate for living things. Let us have courage to be thankful for our differences. Let us pray for strength to accept our obligations. As we gather all the simchas on this Shabbat, we offer a prayer. Divine source of blessings, we thank you for everything that enriches our lives. And now we turn to you with gratitude as we share the happiness of all those who have marked their birthdays, anniversaries, good news, and accomplishments. Adonai, be with them now and always. May they be blessed with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow, and with much health and happiness now and always. We honor each one of you for the gifts that you bring to our sacred community. We now join together in song as we mark this sacred occasion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Service continues now with a service for the reading of the Torah. Just a reminder to everybody that in the e-news that you received this morning, there were links for both Torah portions that we read this evening and tomorrow morning. You can also find the link for this evening on the comments. You can click there and you can see the Torah reading. On page 367, together we join in Al Shlosha Dvarim. As I hinted earlier, a central idea in Judaism appears in the Torah portion for this week. This is the very first time that we find this concept, and it's the notion of Am Sgula, which is usually translated as the chosen people. And it's presented in this Torah portion as a reason why the recently liberated slaves are brought to Mount Sinai and are about to receive divine revelation, the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 utterances commonly known as the 10 Commandments. In the book of Shemot, Exodus chapter 19, we read, "Now then, if you obey me faithfully and keep my covenant, you shall be to me a sgula, a treasured possession among all the peoples. Indeed, all the earth is mine, but you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Mamlechet Kohanim v'goy kadosh." The Hebrew way of saying chosen people is actually a phrase. There's no the word for people in Hebrew is am, and chosen would have been nivchar, but that's not how we say it in Hebrew, because it's really not a word-by-word translation. It's really a concept, and everywhere you'll see it in the literature, you will see the words am segula, based on these very words that we just read in this week's Torah portion. And it means something like, if you go word by word, treasured possession people. People who are a segula. And I think it really hints at the question about what makes the Jewish people special. At this pivotal moment in the history of the recently liberated slaves, it was essential to find a purpose. It was nice that God freed them from slavery in Egypt. Thank you, God. But what was the point? What was the purpose? Until today, the same question has really remained with us. Are we really chosen? And if so, for what purpose? Being told that we are the chosen people is a very common occurrence. It falls under the category of things that we would say, if I had a dime for, Right, I must confess that every time that I hear it, it makes me uncomfortable. Please don't feel bad if you were the ones who once told me that we are the chosen people. I know you really meant well. But the fact of the matter is that agreeing to be called the chosen people is incompatible with what at least I know to be true as some of the fundamental teachings and values of our tradition. That we are all created in the divine image, and thus we are all, and I mean all, worthy of being loved by God. And in this sense, we are all chosen. We're all equally chosen. In other words, either we're all chosen or nobody is. In his book, The Torah Commentary for Our Times, Rabbi Harvey Fields put it this way, quote, "The nature of love, whether between God and Israel or between human beings, cannot be explained. No one knows the secret of what attracts one person to another, of what sustains a relationship through years of sad and happy times, through celebrations, achievements, disagreements, and disappointments." And if you know anything about the story of the Jews in the desert, you know there are many achievements, but lots of disagreements and disappointments between the Jewish people and God. Rabbi Fields suggests that the love between God and the Jewish people cannot be rationalized. And at some level, I like this interpretation because it talks about feelings and not ideas. Still, the notion of chosen people makes me uncomfortable because it seems to imply that in this case, God acts like human beings, in that God cannot control whom God loves. Moreover, as the psalmist says, and if he is correct, Ki leolam chasdo, God's love is everlasting. There's plenty of love of God to go around. Then why would be the point of saying that God loves the Jewish people among all the peoples of the earth? Let me be clear. For centuries, rabbis and theologians have struggled with the idea of chosenness. And that's a word, chosenness. It seems to me that we have a couple of choices, maybe more, but at least two. We can accept the idea and try to interpret it, or we can ditch it altogether. So let's try keep it for a little bit longer. Just a few more minutes, we'll keep it. Among those who try to keep the idea is the great 20th century German Jewish thinker, Martin Buber, who teaches that the notion of Israel as a chosen people, quote, does not indicate a feeling of superiority, but a sense of destiny. It does not spring from a comparison with others, but from the concentrated devotion to a task, to the task that molded the people into a nation. And the very moment that molded the people into a nation, I say, is this week's Torah portion. And if we take Buber's teachings in the context of what we read this week, we can see how God is telling the people that we are chosen in order to implement the religious and ethical ideas contained, among other things, in the Ten Commandments. Being a nation dedicated to bringing holiness into the world is our destiny, and in that way, it makes us unique and not superior. So being the chosen people means that we are unique. And I think we can all agree that we are unique. And if being the chosen people means being unique, then it does not mean chosen. Unless we think that we are more unique than others, right? And you can't do that with the word unique, I'm told. You can't be more unique. Your copy editor will scratch that. We all created in the divine image, and yet we are unique. I think it's never a good idea to blame the victim, yet the idea of chosenness can lead other peoples to think that we, Jews, consider ourselves superior, and that would then engender fear and ultimately hate. So spreading the idea of being the chosen people is not the cause of anti-Semitism, but it sure does not help. So, what's the alternative? The alternative is to get rid of the idea of chosen people completely. Now, if you ask me point blank, is the Jewish people the chosen people? You'll get a very simple answer: no. And I think from tonight on, I think your answer should also be no. At the tender age of 17, this is what I was doing at age 17, very early on in my Jewish journey, I encountered the teachings of Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, the founder of Reconstructionist Judaism. And among the many radical ideas that Kaplan taught already in the 1930s was the idea that we should reject the notion of chosen people. In Kaplan's Siddur, published in 1945, he wrote, quote, "Modern-minded Jews can no longer believe, as did their fathers, that the Jews constitute a divinely chosen nation in the modern world. All this has been changed by a number of political and cultural developments, the rise of democratic nationalism, the separation of church and state, the admission of Jews to citizenship, and the waning belief in supernatural revelation." End quote. So what does this mean in practical terms, you may wonder? Well, Rabbi Kaplan changed every mention of chosenness in his Siddur. By the way, in those days, many Reform rabbis and teachers have also rejected the idea of the chosen people and have taken out all the words chosen and chosenness from the English versions of our prayer books. But Kaplan went one step further, and he dared to change the Hebrew. The Hebrew of the Kiddush, of the Torah blessings and the Haftorah blessings, etc. And tonight we're going to do those changed words. I'll show you in a minute. We're not going to do the traditional ones. In those days, I read that some Orthodox people in New York have burned copies of Kaplan's Siddur. I was hooked. I like guys whose books are being burned, I think. Indeed, early on, as I was a convert to Kaplan's ideas, in particular to his rejection of the notion of the chosen people. Think for a moment. Chosen people does not sound very inclusive, does it? I know it might feel good to be part of a few chosen things, like when I served in a Reform congregation in Fargo, North Dakota. They gave me a t-shirt that said, "Home of the Frozen Chosen." I know it's fun, but it was not my thing then, and it is not today. I echo the words of Rabbi Deborah Waxman, who's the current leader of the Reconstructionist movement, when she teaches, even if the concept of chosen people is reinterpreted, it still implies a hierarchy, and thus lends itself far too quickly to chauvinism and other anti-democratic behavior. Although the idea of chosenness comes from the Torah, and thus is more of a religious idea, it is so ingrained in some of us that even if we are purely secular cultural Jews, we still embrace it. It is evident when we brag about how many Nobel Prize winners were Jewish, or when we talk about making the desert bloom, or about any of the many scientific and technological achievements of the state of Israel. I also think it is present when we ascribe the survival of the state of Israel to some supernatural cause and idealize Israelis to a point that the government of Israel could not possibly do any wrongs. And one more. As a Jew by choice, I find the idea of the chosen people problematic. Like many of you out there, I have chosen to be part of the Jewish people, but it seems pretentious to claim to be chosen. I can understand saying Eloheinu, our God, and even Elohei Avoteinu Vimotenu, God of our ancestors. After all, we're all spiritual heirs to Abraham and Sarah. But claiming chosenness feels like cultural appropriation. So I believe we would be better off without any talk about chosenness, even interpreted in the most benign possible way. And I'm not sure really how else to put it. In an open, pluralistic, and diverse society such as the one that we all aspire to build, there is no room for one chosen people, no matter how we spin it. It never sounds good to say that we, either as individuals or as a nation, are chosen by God for this or that goal. It has an aura of inevitability, and in that way, it goes against everything we try to teach about being partners with God in repairing the world. I know there's much work ahead because this idea is so ingrained in our minds and so prevalent among Jews and non-Jews alike that it would take all of us to change minds and hearts. Jews and non-Jews together can work, because I think it's worth trying. Because if we truly want to be inclusive and welcoming, we must abandon all remnants of chosenness. So next time someone asks you or simply says that we Jews are the chosen people, I hope that you will think about it. I pray that you will say no and use that opportunity to have an open conversation about the implications and the biases of saying that we are God's chosen people. Next time your mind wanders towards chosenness, I pray you'll stop and question your motives. I hope it will make you uncomfortable, because out of that tension, we can find a new way of talking about our shared destiny and our uniqueness as individuals and, of course, as a people. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And now we're going to read those wonderful words from the book of Exodus. And as I said, before we read, I just want to read for you what you're going to hear when I chant the blessings. I'm going to give myself an aliyah today on this occasion. The translation, it comes from Kol HaNeshama, which is one of the Sidurim prayer books of the Reconstructionist movement. And the translation is, "Blessed are you, eternal one, our God, the sovereign of all worlds, who has drawn us to your service and has given us your Torah." And what Kaplan replaced is the word bachar, which means to choose. Asher bachar banu, he says, Asher ker vanu la'avodato. He has drawn us to your service. And when you chant it, it works perfectly, which is brilliant, right? He just changed them into something he wanted, that it was more ideologically, and then it actually works with the words. So those are the words we're going to chant. And if you go to Reconstruction's congregation, they do it quickly. It may just fly by, you don't catch it, but that's what they're doing. And I know some of you out there have actually belonged to Reconstructionist congregations, but Joel here and Donna and other people out there have told me about it. So this was all part of that tradition. Let me find this thing. So we are reading together Exodus 19, verses 1 through 9. And pay attention, the word segula is going to be there, and then mamlechet kohanim, and goy kadosh, all key terms for today. I feel I'm teaching a class, right? Here are the key terms you have to remember. Baruchu et Adonai ha-mevorach. Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kerevanu le'avodato ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
אמן. בחודש השלישי לצאת בני ישראל מארץ מצרים. ביום הזה באו מדבר סיני. וייסעו מרפידים. ויבואו מדבר סיני. ויחנו במדבר. ויחן שם ישראל נגד ההר. ומשה עלה אל האלוהים, ויקרא אליו אדוני מן ההר לאמור, כה תאמר לבית יעקב ותגיד לבני ישראל, אתם ראיתם אשר עשיתי למצרים, ואשא אתכם על כנפי נשרים, ואביא אתכם אליי, ועתה אם שמוע תשמעו בקולי ושמרתם את בריתי, והייתם לי סגולה מכל העמים, כי לי כל הארץ. ואתם תהיו לי ממלכת כהנים וגוי קדוש. אלה הדברים אשר תדבר אל בני ישראל. ויבוא משה ויקרא לזקני ים, וישם לפניהם את כל הדברים האלה אשר ציווהו אדוני, ויענו כל העם יחדיו, ויאמרו כל אשר דיבר אדוני נעשה. וישב משה את דברי העם אל אדוני, ויאמר אדוני אל משה, הנה אנוכי בא אליך וענן בעבור ישמעם, בדברי עמך בגנדך יאמינו לעולם. ואגד משה את דברי העם אל אדוני. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
As we gather together on this Shabbat and we have heard words of Torah, we now turn our thoughts to those in need of healing. You may access the Misheberach list through the e-news that you received this morning. You can also follow the link you you will find in the comments. If you like to offer names, we invite you to type them in the comments so we can all see them. Please go ahead and type them. So we join together on page 371 with the Misha Berach prayer. We think of those in need of healing. We also join our thoughts and prayers. We think of those who help in healing, first responders and health workers all over our country and all over the world. May those who care for the sick with their hands, their voices, and their hearts be blessed with courage and stamina. May those who pursue healing through medical skills and knowledge be blessed with insight, patience, and compassion. May all of us, the sick and the well together, find courage and hope. And let us say, Amen. On page 374, we continue with returning the Torah scroll to the Ark. Etz Chaim, page 374. As we prepare for our moment of remembrance, I invite you to turn to page 595. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם אות בתוכנו. They are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We have heard of the passing of Marilyn Pittler, aunt of Howard and Gloria Pittler. We are observing the Shloshim period for a member of our congregation, Marshall Harris Weingarten, husband of Judy Weingarten. Joyce Fox, sister and sister-in-law of Ron and Judy Dubrov, and R. Michael Wren, father of Christopher Wren. We are joining us on the Shabbat and remembering a loved one. We invite you to type their names in the comments and click enter. As a congregation, we remember the following Yortzites: Stanley Martin Altman, Harold A. Blum, Leslie Kroll, Marian Friedlander, Susan Fry, Otto E. Hirsch, Elizabeth Court, Terry Lipman, Jack Osman, Sam Archie Penner, Mitchell Rutman, Genia Rudnick, Estelle Shams, John Sickle. Zichronam Livracha. May the memories be for a blessing. On page 598, together we join in Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Gadal v'yitkadosh shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דא אמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, שים שלום עלינו.
Some announcements. Special thanks to Leslie Zucker and Joel Krishover for the music and our technical team. We invite you to join us for Sichat Shabbat tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Zoom. The link is in the e-news that you received this morning. Our next Shabbat service is tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. on Facebook Live and the Virtual Sanctuary. Next Friday, it's a special format. We will welcome CASA, court-appointed special advocates, for our first virtual Beit Knesset evening of 2021. We will come together for a virtual Shabbat dinner, services, and a CASA informational session. Join us to learn how we can support children in foster care. This Thursday at 12 noon, eat lunch and learn with me during lunch and learn with a rabbi. And the Zoom link can be found in this week's e-news. And during these times, making connections is more important than ever. So I encourage you to connect into Beth Torah during these challenging times. check in with us, either one of our rabbis, me and Rabbi Kleiman, or our staff, and check in with friends from CBT. We are here for each other, so let us know how we can help you.
Absolutely. Do you want to be part of our virtual Megillah reading on Erev Purim, Thursday, February 25th, right around the corner, if you can believe it? We will put on our costumes and gather on Zoom for Megillah, songs, and more. If you're interested in reading a segment, and don't worry, you can do it in English, email me, lzucker@beth-torah.org. Next midweek song session is February 10th, Wednesday, 7 o'clock Central, Facebook Live, and our virtual sanctuary. Now, this is really exciting. So y'all remember Reverend Eric Williams of Calvary Temple Baptist Church joined us on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. And since then, we have collected 590 toothbrushes and 512 tubes of toothpaste for the Calvary Community Wellness Center. That's over 1,000 little pieces to help bring smiles to faces. We are honored to spread over 500 smiles to our neighbors living and working in urban Kansas City. Thank you so much for ordering, purchasing, and delivering hundreds of toothbrushes and tubes of toothpaste. Now, if you wanted to get in on this and you missed it, do not fear. We are going to be collecting through Friday, February 12th. This was so successful and so many people want to help that we wanted to widen that opportunity just a little bit. If you want to be one of those folks, call the office to arrange a drop-off. If you're not receiving our e-news and would like to, let us know. And finally, this is just like Simcha City. We had such a positive response to our High Hopes video that we are going to play it again tonight after our closing song. And if you still haven't gotten enough of Barry, Dave, and a tree full of community, the video will soon be up on our website so that you can watch it any time you like.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And our closing song together only happens maybe once or twice a year. And I say twice because sometimes when we read the Ten Commandments in Deuteronomy, we sing Leslie's song, the Decalogue, and I always request it. We sang it together the very first time at our talent show, and many years ago. And so it's been a favorite of mine. I hope you enjoyed. It's the Decalogue song. Please join us.
And we're going to start with the chorus.
Okay.
And the word is Decalogue.
That's all I know.
I think you got it. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue is what we call the Ten Commandments. And here they are. God is God wherever you are. Put God first, God is the star. Say God's name with respect and care. Those are the first three right there. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue is what we call the Ten Commandments. Here's the next three. Always keep the Sabbath holy. Treat your parents better than your favorite dolly. And don't kill anybody. Now that's 6. Everybody. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue is what we call the Ten Commandments. Always be faithful and true. Don't steal, it's bad to do. Don't lie, just tell the truth. That's 9, there's just one more to do. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue, boom, boom, boom. Decalogue is what we call the Ten Commandments. One more. The last one enough. Be happy with your own stuff. These words aren't just a bunch of fluff. They're the Decalogue. Decalogue. Boom, boom, boom. Decalogue. Boom, boom. Decalogue is what we call the Ten Commandments.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Take
Be
care of
safe
each other out there.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Barry Katz, and I'm here virtually with Dave Zucker. Dave and I are both members of Beth Torah's Fund Development Committee, and today we are celebrating the success of a fundraising initiative our committee created on the fly in response to the challenges created by the pandemic. Last March, as the shutdown began, we realized that financial challenges lay ahead and that our ability to fundraise could be severely limited. We quickly decided on a very direct approach, a letter to the congregation explaining Beth Torah's needs and asking for a monthly contribution of $18 for 12 months, chai every month for a year. We also thought that the energy behind this and the resulting generosity would be more visible and lasting by giving all High Hopes donors a leaf on our Tree of Life.
The response from our congregation, all of us, was immediate and gratifying. 71 members stepped forward and contributed over $20,000 that will eventually lead to the addition of 100 leaves on our Tree of Life. Our original plan was to celebrate this success during the first Shabbat when we could gather in person again after the pandemic. But we got tired of waiting and then got excited about the idea of revealing the new leaves at Tu B'Shvat, the ultimate celebration of trees. As a committee, we decided to make this video so that everyone can join us in celebrating our congregational commitment to growing Beth Torah's symbolic Tree of Life. We will post this video on our website along with images of our new leaves so that everyone who contributed can see their leaves and share in the nachas of our accomplishments as a congregation.
If the pandemic is a cloud over our daily lives, then High Hopes is a silver lining. Our tree has blossomed, and we are grateful to those who made that possible. But the growth doesn't need to stop here. The High Hopes campaign is over, but anyone and everyone can still purchase leaves at any time to commemorate a mitzvah or a simcha. With every leaf, together we help to lengthen and strengthen the roots of Beth Torah that nourish us all. We can't wait to once again stand with you in person and toast l'chaim to Beth Torah. Thank you all again, and shalom.